Shalom. First off, I want to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to the hopeful elect that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. And to all my brothers out here preaching this truth to you, I say Shalom. This is Amatazar from the Chicago camp, coming back at you again with another lesson entitled Eau Claire, Wisconsin. The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. In the end, blame it on the deer. Okay? So, today's lesson, my travels bring me to Altoona, Wisconsin, um, Eau Claire. And Eau Claire means clear water. Okay? Clear water. All right? And as I normally do when I'm on a different location, I try to look at the backdrop of an area. All right? And we're exposing Esau, Edom, and his wickedness. All right. And so I'm able to testify firsthand on the things that I'm able to uncover. And so today's lesson is going to be discussing Eau Claire, Wisconsin. It used to be an area where the Sioux and Ojibwa or Chippewa Native Americans, which are Israelites, used to dwell. All right. Amongst a lot of pine trees, beautiful pine trees. All right. And so Esau basically um, in order to get the northern kingdom up out of their land, all right, they promised them annuity payments, and they wanted to be able to cut down, or cut these trees down, these pine trees, all right. And he agreed to allow the northern kingdom to stay on their land, all right. They just want to, have the rights to the trees, okay. So that when they agreed upon it, all right, they put it in agreement. But then, as soon as the Edomites came, all right, they basically took the land over and forced them out. All right, so you can look it up. It's The Forgotten Tragedy, 400 Lives Lost at Sandy Lake in Government Scheme. So basically, Esau promised them payments, okay, and then what they did was they moved the payment. They told them, oh, you got to get your payment in Minnesota. We ain't going to be able to give you the payment here in Eau Claire. We got to give it to you in Minnesota. All right, so they had them travel, okay, and the Northern Kingdom fell for the okie doke, had them travel to Minnesota, all right, and then they delayed the payments for over 2 months, and then they were forced to basically, um, they was trying to get back, all right, in the dead of winter, okay, so you had a lot of people lost their lives, all right, due to starvation, all right, and the harsh conditions. So let's get into it. Eau Claire, Wisconsin, the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. In the end, blame it on the deer. Esau Edom's method of operation, theft of land and resources, premeditated murder, create wastelands after stripping the resources, broken promise agreements. Okay? All of this methodology is none other than Esau Edom, described in the scriptures. U.S. government intentionally disrupted their treaty guaranteed annuity payments, forced migration. The government mandated that all annuity payments previously dispersed in places like LaPointe, Wisconsin, be moved to Sandy Lake, Minnesota. The trap, thousands of Ojibwe, sometimes pronounced Chippewa, traveled hundreds of miles on foot only to find the government officials unprepared to pay them. The strategy was to delay payments until deep winter, trapping the Ojibwe in Minnesota and making their return home nearly impossible. The tragic outcome: while waiting for payments that never came in full, the Ojibwe were subjected to inhumane conditions. Government officials provided spoiled, rotten meat and moldy flour, leading to widespread outbreaks of dysentery, and other diseases. Hundreds of people died at Sandy Lake, and hundreds more perished during the desperate, freezing trek back home. All right, so let's get into some of these scriptures. The Lord hates Esau. That's first and foremost. Romans 9 and 13. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. Matthew 11 and 12. It says, and from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent taketh it by force. All right, Esau is that violent man. All right, and the kingdom of heaven is the Israelites. Okay, northern kingdom, southern kingdom. Esau killed for the land. The Indian Removal Act was legislation to remove the northern kingdom from their lands. Listen, you cannot escape slavery in America, okay? The Civil War, the Reconstruction period, the Black Codes, Jim Crow, Western expansion, and the Indian Removal Act. All of these things can be verified, and it's all part of history. That's why he wants to institute critical race theory. Okay, that's why he wants to erase this history. All right, because America, in its inception, all right, has always been evil. This is Micah. Hold on, before I read that, Micah 2:10. Esau killed for the land. The Indian Removal Act was legislation to remove the northern kingdom from their lands. All right, now, what's the proof? Okay, Micah 2 and 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. All right? So all of this history proves who Esau Edom is. This is Psalms 94 and 20. Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by law? These devils create these laws, okay, to strip you, okay, to oppress you. Job 9 and 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Okay, the wicked is in control of the earth right now. America from its inception has been inherently evil. This is why critical race theory is a thing. Okay? You can't get around it. Okay? These are the wicked of the Bible. Jeremiah 49 and 10. But I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. Okay? So Esau is being revealed all over the world, and they're seeing it. Psalms 55 and 20. He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He hath broken his covenant. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. Okay? All right? Esau Edom has broken all the treaties that he signed. Okay? I don't know. I think it was either over 500 or something so treaties that he signed, if I'm not mistaken. This is Proverbs 26 and 24. He that hateth dissembleth with his lips, and layeth up deceit within him. When he speaketh fair, believe him not, for there are 7 abominations in his heart, whose hatred is covered by deceit. His wickedness shall be showed before the whole congregation. We have so much history of this devil and his deceitful practices to prove that exactly who he is. All right, so let's get into it even more. It says the wealth, land, and growth of Eau Claire were directly enabled by ethnic cleansing, resource theft, and the nationwide economic machinery of slavery. The Indian Removal Act and the secession of Eau Claire. The Pine Treaty of 1837 Long before Eau Claire was incorporated, the land belonged to the Ojibwa or Chippewa and the Sioux, the Dakota, all right, Dakota or Sioux Indians, and the Ho Chunk nations. Spurred by the momentum of the Indian Removal Act of 1830, the federal government pressured Ojibwa leaders into signing the 1937 Treaty of St. Peter's, the Pine Treaty. The resource theft. The treaty ceded millions of acres of rich pine forests encompassing what would become Eau Claire to the United States government. White negotiators, okay, Edomites, explicitly lied to native leaders, promising they only wanted to cut the timber and that the native people could remain instead. It triggered an influx of white settlers who permanently seized the land. The local echo of the Trail of Tears, the Sandy Lake tragedy, forced subjugation, westward expansion in Wisconsin culminated in a dark, localized removal effort. In 1850, U.S. officials attempted to force the Ojibwa out of Wisconsin entirely by moving their treaty annuity payment site to Sandy Lake, Minnesota. You see, so they told them, "Oh, we can't cut you a check here. You got to go to Sandy Lake, Minnesota to get it." The Wisconsin Death March. More than 5,500 Ojibwe traveled to Minnesota only to find that the government had delayed the food and money supplies. Due to contaminated rations, disease, and the freezing winter, over 400 Ojibwe died at Sandy Lake and on the treacherous march back to Wisconsin. This tragedy directly shattered local tribal structures, clearing the path for Eau Claire's lumber barons to exploit the Chippewa Valley without resistance. The financial complexity with Southern slavery. Building the Cotton Kingdom while Wisconsin was officially a free territory under the Northwest Ordinance, Eau Claire's early economy was intrinsically linked to Southern slave economy. The massive timber extraction from Eau Claire's sawmills was not just used to build northern cities, it was exported down the Mississippi River. The timber slavery pipeline. Millions of board feet of local pine were shipped south to build the infrastructure of the expanding slave empire, including southern shipping docks, cotton warehouses, and slave labor plantations. Northern lumber barons generated massive wealth by supplying physical materials that kept the chattel slavery system operational. Manifest Destiny and the Erasure of Native History. The myth of the empty wilderness, as Eau Claire grew into a manufacturing powerhouse, the city adopted the ideology of manifest destiny, the belief that white Edomite settlers were definitely destined or divinely destined to civilize the continent. Local history was heavily rewritten to frame the region as an untamed wilderness discovered by white pioneers, completely erasing the violent, state sanctioned displacement of the indigenous populations who had stewarded the confluence of the rivers for centuries. Okay? So now, let's look at the hypocrisy of this devil. Because wherever he goes, he's going to what? He's going to devour the resources. All right. And then after he devours the resources where there's none or to little left, then he'll put it in a protected classified status and then fine anyone who um, you know cuts a tree down or kills something or whatever. All right. The hypocrisy, protection laws, and blame the deer. The current status of pine trees in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, is defined by an ongoing ecological comeback in the wild, strict new urban protection laws, and new environmental stress from severe weather and climate shifts. Okay, so now here's the blame game. While the city's historic 19th century logging boom wiped out virtually all original old growth white pines. The modern landscape features a mix of urban canopy preservation and managed forest regeneration. Forest regeneration and the comeback. Second growth recovery, according to the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, native eastern white pines are making a steady comeback across the western Wisconsin because they are no longer being clear cut for commercial sawmills. Yeah, because you cut them all down. Second and third growth white and red pines are successfully maturing in Eau Claire County forests. Here it is, blaming it on the deer. Deer browse hurdles. The primary roadblock to young pine development in Eau Claire County is the local deer population. The primary roadblock is the deer population. DNR forest monitoring reports that 69% of recent harvested forest stands are below height expectation because deer repeatedly eat the young pine seedlings, stalling their growth before they can mature into trees. You see that? You wouldn't have believed it if I would have just told you. The fact that I read it for you, all right, and you see it right here on the page, you see the hypocrisy of this fucking devil. In closing, this is Sirach 12:10. Keep in mind all the scriptures that we talked about before. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped the looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away. Set him not by thee. That's it right there. Set him not by thee, lest when he have overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith. Who will pity a charmer that's bitten with a serpent, or any such as come nigh wild beasts? So one that goeth to a sinner, and is defiled with him in his sins, who will pity? For a while he will abide with thee, but if thou begin to fall, he will not tarry. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. If adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. Though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine thee. He will shake his head and clap his hands and whisper much and change his countenance. Okay? So the warning is there. The information is there. Okay? This definitely is this is Esau Edom in his methodology. All right? Wherever he goes, he devours whatever he can for profit and leaves a wasteland. Okay? Then he puts the shit in protected status and then want to fine everybody else. This is like right now, your car, every other year, you got to take your car to get the emissions testing. Okay? Now keep in mind, this man has polluted the entire earth, but now he wants to take your car, right? He want to put you in a position where you got to keep paying to get your emissions, uh, fixed, and he wants to fine you for it. Just a whole bunch of hypocrisy. All right. So this has been Eau Claire, Wisconsin. The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. In the end, blame it on the deer. I pray that this lesson has been edifying. To the next one, Shalom.